Respiration is the second most crucial life process activity that every living organism is going to perform, because respiration helps them to take up energy, because whatever energy autotrophic nutrition or autotrophic organisms have made, or whatever food they have made, has to be broken down into smaller energy packets. Those energy packets are nothing but ATPs. So cellular respiration and different other modes of respiration helps an organism to gain energy from the food that they are taking. Okay. So respiration, as I told you, photosynthesis was an anabolic process. Anabolic means where a product is being formed, that is glucose is formed and oxygen is released. So these are the two crucial products which are utilized in respiration. Alright, so respiration becomes a catabolic process. Okay, anabolic means formation and catabolic means breakdown into smaller, simpler molecules. Alright, so here we are breaking down glucose, we are utilizing oxygen, and what we are getting out of it is energy and carbon dioxide. So these are the main products which are the outcome of respiration. Respiration, depending upon different type of organisms, prokaryotic, eukaryotic organisms, we have of two types, that is aerobic and anaerobic. Alright, so aerobic respiration is, as the name suggests, in the presence of oxygen, and anaerobic, it is in the presence of or absence of oxygen. Means it is independent of oxygen, and this type of respiration is dependent on oxygen. Without oxygen, it wouldn't perform. Alright, so in here again you have three types or three ways in which anaerobic respiration is performed by different types of organisms or body parts. Here first is respiration performed by small microorganism called yeast. Respiration performed by a bacteria called lactobacillus, and respiration anaerobic performed by muscle cells. Alright. Anaerobic respiration, that is absence of oxygen. It is performed by different type of organisms or cells. This is a microorganism. Yeast is the smallest of fungi. Lactobacillus is a bacteria, and muscle cells which are present in any vertebral organisms. Okay. So yeast, the respiration performed by yeast is also called as fermentation, because the process helps the organism to release carbon dioxide, and along with a very important product called alcohol, that is ethanol, is being released when yeast performs respiration. Alright, since it is a very small organism, its energy requirement is also going to be very small, so it doesn't require high amount of energy as in aerobic type of respiration, where the larger human beings or the complex vertebral organisms, they require more energy because they perform various type of functions. But here yeast is a very small organism, so its energy requirement is as low as 2 ATPs, or in terms of calories or kilocalories, if I am going to mention, it would be 50 kilocalorie or 25 to 50 kilocalories. Alright, so the energy requirement is very less, that's why it performs anaerobic mode of respiration, which does not need any oxygen. So without the presence of oxygen, this releases alcohol instead of the more amount of energy. Means the main important byproduct after breaking down of glucose is C2H5OH, that is ethanol, and along with that 2 ATPs are released, which meets the energy requirement for yeast. That's why this type of respiration is also called as alcoholic fermentation. And this type of organism is used for the commercial production of alcohol in many chemical industries, in many beverage industries. Alright, so in various activities, various commercial activities, yeast is the most commonly used organism. Similarly, yeast is also used in baking industry because CO2 which is released during this respiration helps to make the bread fluffy because the dough rises and the bread or the cake becomes little bit soft and fluffy. So yeast is a very important organism which is used in baking industry, also in in alcoholic fermentation. All right. Now lactobacillus is again a very important organism or bacteria which helps in curd formation. In all types of yogurts, you will find lactobacillus because it helps in converting milk into curd because of its respirational activities. So what it is forming here is lactic acid. Alright, lactic acid is the important compound or product which is formed from lactobacillus respiration. Alright, so this is also called as lactic acid fermentation. And lactobacillus is therefore a bacteria which helps in digestion. If a person is eating too much of spicy food or any type of harmful what you call it as too much of condiments, too much of spices are there in the food, so it helps the digestion process because lactic acid helps them to break down those molecules into simpler ones. So nutrient level would increase if lactobacillus is assimilated or if you have yogurt along with your dinner or lunch, whatever you're having. Okay, so it helps in smooth digestion. Alright, so lactic acid fermentation is another name for the respiration which is performed by lactobacillus. Lactic acid is actually C3H6 and O3. The molecular formula is C3H6 and O3, and along with that energy is also produced, energy is also released. Similarly, in muscle cells, sometimes during strenuous amount of exercises or too much of strain or pressure on the muscle cells, the circulation of blood in that area is less or inadequate. So during that time, what happens is lactic acid is formed in the muscle cells, means anaerobic type of respiration. Since blood doesn't reach, so if blood is not reaching, if there is inadequate amount of circulation, what is happening is RBCs are not reaching. Now what RBCs are going to contain? Hemoglobin. Okay, hemoglobin is the oxygen carrying molecule or pigment in the blood. So if RBCs are not reaching, the part or that muscle cells is not going to receive oxygen, and if it's not going to receive oxygen for some time, it's going to perform anaerobic respiration because it needs to keep on going on that activity. Okay, so at that time, at that place, for some period of time, muscle cells are also going to release lactic acid because it has no source of oxygen. So lactic acid is released for some period of time, and that leads to some types of cramps in the muscles, okay, some sprains or periodic numbness in the muscle cells because it is not having blood circulation. Alright, but this can resume as soon as blood starts flowing in that particular cell. So lactic acid will stop releasing and then aerobic respiration in that place will start. Alright, so this is how anaerobic respiration performs. In the absence of oxygen, three types of different parts or different cells will perform anaerobic type of respiration in the absence of oxygen. First is yeast, which is the smallest microorganisms. Now what yeast is going to do during its respiration is going to break down glucose to form alcohol, ATPs and carbon dioxide. Now ATPs is very less because the energy requirement of this microorganism is also very less. So C2H5OH is the alcohol or the main product which is formed. That's why this type of respiration is also called as alcoholic fermentation. So So yeast is a very important microorganism which is used in commercial production of alcohol. It is also used in baking industry because CO2 is being released during this respiration, and this CO2 helps in raising the dough of the bread or the cake and make it fluffy. Alright. Next is lactobacillus. Lactobacillus is a bacteria which performs anaerobic type of respiration, and it helps in converting milk into curd or yogurt. So that is another type of fermentation called as lactic acid fermentation. Similarly, in muscle cells, sometimes it does not reach the blood or circulation is inadequate in that particular cell. So muscle cells also perform anaerobic type of respiration, releasing lactic acid, but it is only for some time when the muscles are subjected to any kind of exercise or stress. Alright, so this was your anaerobic mode of respiration. Coming back to aerobic mode, which is a very important mode of respiration. In aerobic, again there are three steps, or rather three different types of respiration in aerobic only. What you call as normal breathing, where intake of oxygen is done and exhalation or release of CO2 is taking place. So this is breathing, inhalation, exhalation. Here the respiratory system of the body comes into picture. Respiratory system means all lungs, trachea, then bronchioles, then diaphragm, your nostrils, nasal chambers. So different parts of the respiratory system play a very important role in normal breathing or normal intake of oxygen and release of carbon dioxide. So this is one mode of respiration. Another is transfer of gases or transportation. This transportation is brought about, or exchange of gases is mainly brought about by the alveoli of your lungs. Alright, so this, what happens is through our body is going to perform double circulation. One is systemic and one is pulmonary. Pulmonary is when heart is pumping down oxygen. So oxygenated blood is reaching to all the body organs via pumping of heart. And when oxygenated blood reaches it, it gets converted into deoxygenated blood, because every body cell is going to use up this oxygen and release CO2. So when this CO2 filled blood is there, that is called as deoxygenated blood, which again comes back to the heart. So pulmonary respiration and systemic. Systemic is what? All the blood is transported to all parts of the body and then it comes back. Alright, so two types of circulation is taking place. So that is called as transport or exchange of gases, where deoxygenated blood is converted into oxygenated blood and then the cycle keeps on going on. Alright, and this is brought about by different blood vessels like arteries, veins, capillaries, venules, okay, different types of arteries, especially the pulmonary artery. It is the only exception which carries oxygenated blood. Rest all the arteries are going to carry a deoxygenated blood. Similarly, pulmonary vein is the only vein which carries oxygenated deoxygenated blood, and the rest of the veins will always carry oxygenated blood. Okay, so different types of veins, arteries and capillaries play a very important role in the transport of, or the transportation of gases, and also the transportation of nutrients is brought about via blood to all the parts of the body. Alright. Then comes your cellular respiration, which we are going to deal right now. Cellular respiration, which is a very important type of respiration, where the glucose which is formed. Now where do organisms get glucose? From the food that we are eating. Since we are heterotrophic organisms, what we are doing here is, these heterotrophic organisms are eating different plants. Okay, they are dependent on the producers, that is primary producers. Alright, so what is happening is, we are taking up carbohydrates, we are taking up all types of nutrition from the food, but this nutrition is broken down into simpler molecules by our body, and then it is been absorbed or assimilated. So all the nutrients are very important, and that is performed by cellular respiration, where the glucose which we take up through our food. So actually what we take up is carbohydrates. Carbohydrates and starch, due to digestion process, gets broken down into simple glucose molecules. These glucose molecules are going to get broken down further into ATP molecules, from which we get energy. So ATPs are the main outcome out of cellular respiration. And this respiration is performed by a very crucial organelle present in the cell, that is mitochondria. Mitochondria, it is also called as the powerhouse of the cell. Why it is called as the powerhouse of the cell? Because it is performing respiration, that is cellular mode of respiration, where it is breaking down glucose into simpler ATP molecules and giving us energy. Alright, so we are going to deal with cellular respiration first and then the different modes, other modes of respiration, that is breathing and transportation. Clear? Okay, so the first reaction of respiration is obviously C6H12O6. Okay, plus it requires oxygen since it is a aerobic mode of respiration. Okay, so one glucose molecule requires 6 molecules of oxygen for cellular respiration. Okay, to get the desired product. Per glucose molecule releases 38 ATPs in total. So you can imagine how many glucose molecules are being broken down in this cellular process. Alright, so glucose molecule plus an oxygen, it is going to give you 38 ATPs, carbon dioxide and water. 6 CO2, 6 H2O and very important product, that is 38 ATPs. This will somewhere be in the range of 686 in terms of calories. So this is the energy that we are getting, 38 ATPs, and plus the byproducts CO2. CO2 is released through the breathing process, inhalation, exhalation. Okay, and sometimes water is also required for this, and some of the CO2 is also released in the terms of water vapor. So different ways of release of the other products, but the important product that you are getting at the end of respiration is 38 ATPs. Alright, which gives you energy to perform different type of activities. Which are the different type of activities? Like running, reading, eating, digestion process, different metabolic activities going on, urine formation, kidney regulation, okay, osmoregulation of your body, every other thing is because we are getting energy with the help of cellular respiration. Alright, so now we'll go and see the process of cellular respiration. Glucose gets broken down into pyruvic acid. Okay, pyruvic acid is also called as pyruvate. So this breaking down of glucose into pyruvic acid is done, or it is this type of cycle is done in cytoplasm of the cell. And this cycle, this part of the respiration is common to both aerobic as well as non-anaerobic. Alright, because pyruvic acid is a very important byproduct or a raw material which helps in the formation of ATPs. Okay, so this part, because all the cells are going to have cytoplasm. Okay, so cytoplasm, because prokaryotic cells or eukaryotic cells both are going to contain cytoplasm. Just the difference is in prokaryotic cells you do not have any membrane bound organelles. Means that cell won't be having any mitochondria. So obviously the main function of mitochondria is to produce maximum ATPs. So in anaerobic respiration, ATPs are produced, but only in very less quantities. So here also ATPs are produced, but these are produced only in the cytoplasm, so which is already there in the prokaryotic cell. So prokaryotic cell, instead of having a cytoplasm, will always have a protoplasm. Protoplasm means fluid of nucleus as well as fluid of cell. So since prokaryotic cells don't have any well-defined nucleus or true nucleus, it will have some of the genetic material scattered around in the cytoplasm, which will then become the protoplasm. So here glucose gets broken down into pyruvic acid. This particular pathway is called as glycolysis. And glycolysis is common for both aerobic as well as anaerobic type of respiration. Alright. Now, at the end of glycolysis, the product the end product that you're getting is 2 ATPs, which is the energy requirement of any prokaryotic cell. Very less energy requirement. So it doesn't need to perform anaerobic or aerobic type of respiration, not anaerobic, because its energy requirement is met here only. It doesn't need to go ahead. But for aerobic, obviously the requirement of energy is more. So we need more amount of energies. So that's why we perform the further cycles. Alright. So in case of glycolysis, it's common to both aerobic and anaerobic. Alright. But from here, pyruvic acid is further converted into more ATPs. It's broken down into more energy molecules via a cycle called as Krebs cycle. And this Krebs cycle takes place in the matrix region of mitochondria. Okay, so Krebs cycle is performed or is going on in the matrix region. You know the structure of mitochondria that we have already studied in our previous standards. Okay, it is a double membrane structure, outer smooth membrane and inner rough membrane made up of many types of membranous infoldings. Alright, so this is the membranous infoldings are called as cristae, and it is filled by matrix. Okay, a fluid of mitochondria is called as matrix. It will have its own ribosomes and its own genetic material. That's why mitochondria is just like chloroplast, semi-autonomous organelle. It can perform the functions on its own. It can replicate on its own. Okay, it can make their own proteins because it have its own ribosomes. Ribosomes are for protein synthesis. Alright, so it does not need to depend on other cell organelles or nucleus for its replication. So that's why it is called as a semi-autonomous organelle, just like chloroplast. Because chloroplast is also going to have its own ribosomes and its own genetic information. Here, so here, if you see this region, the cristae region, this cristae region, if you see the microscopic structure, you will find it like this, and on the top of it there are small particles present. Okay, these are like buttons on the surface of cristae. This is called as oxysomes or F1 particles or elementary particles. There are many names to this, and this is the part where the final ATP production takes place. Okay, so the more amount of infoldings, the more amount of cristae, more ATPs are released, because at each elementary particle, each F1 particle, ATPs are released in the cytoplasm to give energy to the body. Alright, so here oxysomes or F1 particle become the site for electron transfer system. Electron transfer system is the last leg of aerobic respiration, where all the products will come together. Okay, all the products which are formed in glycolysis, formed in Krebs cycle, they will come together and electron transfer system. Means these products would be more broken down to release energy. Means at every formation of product, energy would be broken down. That is, ATPs would be formed. So the final ATP production forms is there in the cristae. That is electron transfer system or an electron transfer chain it is called. So chain like formation in which there are electron acceptors present, and when that electron is jumping from one electron acceptor to another electron acceptor, what is released is ATP. Okay, just like what we saw in photosynthesis, where ATPs are formed, what is taking place over there? Same thing in the cyclic photophosphorylation or in the Calvin cycle. one electron acceptor is jumping, one electron is jumping from electron acceptor to another electron acceptor. Now what is happening here? During that transfer of energy, ATPs are formed. So similarly here also, whenever the electron is jumping from one acceptor to another, ATPs are released. So that is how you get the net gain of 38 ATPs at the end of aerobic respiration. Alright, so per glucose molecule, 38 ATPs are released. Alright, now we are going to see glycolysis in detail and then Krebs cycle. So ETS, as I said, it is taking place in the cristae region of mitochondria. So this is clear to you. Glucose gets broken down into pyruvic acid. This particular pathway is common for aerobic as well as anaerobic, which is taking place in cytoplasm. The net gain of glycolysis is majorly 2 ATPs. Rest of the ATPs are also formed, but it will get utilized in the process. Alright, so the net gain becomes 2 ATPs, which meets the requirement of any kind of prokaryotic cell which performs anaerobic respiration. So it doesn't need to go ahead with more amount of ATPs. But for any aerobic respiration, the energy requirement is more. That's why pyruvic acid gets further broken down into more amount of ATPs. Alright, what you are getting here is regeneration products. Okay, it is performed in the matrix region of mitochondria. The cycle which performs this particular thing is called as Krebs cycle. It was discovered by Hansen Krebs. Then the cristae region of mitochondria, which has the oxysomes or F1 particles present, they are the regions where electron transfer system or electron transfer chains are formed, where all these products which are formed in the previous cycles will accumulate, and they become the electron acceptors, where electrons jump from one acceptor to another acceptor, and then eventually ATPs are released. So in this way, per glucose molecule, 38 ATPs are released, which is the net gain of aerobic respiration. Alright. So initially what you have is glucose. Glucose gets converted into glucose 6-phosphate. Then fructose 6-phosphate. Then 1,6 glucose diphosphate. Different types of subproducts of glucose. Okay, this is just simplification. Then it forms two different products. Now remember, this is a one molecule of 6 carbon compound. So this would be 6 carbon compound, again a 6 carbon compound, again a 6 carbon compound. Now here isomerism takes place, where two different molecules are formed, which 6 carbon compound gets splits up. In splitting up of 6 carbon compound will take place, giving rise to 3 carbon compound and 3 carbon compound. That is DHAP is formed and PGAL is formed. Okay, DHAP is dihydroxy acetone phosphate and PGAL is phosphoglyceraldehyde. Alright, so these are two molecules which are isomers, which are chemically different but structurally same, or the position of carbon atom would be different, but more or less these compounds are same. Alright, so similar compounds are formed, which is 3 carbon compound each, because 6 carbon compound is split into one molecule of 3 carbon compound, another molecule of 3 carbon. Alright, so here they will go through a series of changes. Alright, where two molecules means this will interchange. Instead of DHAP, it will again form a PGAL. So this becomes PGAL actually. Alright, so phosphoglyceraldehyde, phosphoglyceraldehyde. Same things are performing two different pathways, but at the end of it, what you are getting is one molecule of pyruvate, another molecule of pyruvate. So in this way, you are getting pyruvate, that is pyruvic acid, but two molecules. These are two molecules, and each molecule is a 3 carbon compound. Alright, so pyruvate is two molecules, but each is a 3-carbon compound molecule. So the end what you are getting is pyruvate molecules, two molecules of pyruvic acid out of one glucose molecule. Here what you are having is one molecule. One glucose molecule is giving you two molecules of pyruvic acid, 3-carbon compound each. This is 6-carbon compound. Okay, make this thing very clear because there shouldn't be any confusion. This glycolysis cycle is not been asked in your syllabus, but the end products are very crucial. Okay, you need to remember the end products, that is glucose, which is a single 6-carbon compound, and after glycolysis is done, the end product is pyruvic acid, but two molecules of pyruvic acid giving 3-carbon compound each. Alright. In this entire glycolysis process, ATPs are utilized in the first part, that is ATP gets broken down into ADP plus IP. Okay, but here at this part, NADH2, NAD is combining with H2 to form NADH2, and along with that ATP molecules are formed here. This transfer giving rise to ADP plus 2IP will give you 2 ATP. Okay, so total net gain of ATPs in Krebs cycle, not in Krebs cycle, in glycolysis cycle would be, just remember, one conversion or two conversions rather, which would be same, or you can say equal in all types of cycles. Means be it a Krebs cycle, be it a glycolysis cycle, this conversion will remain uniform throughout the respiration. First conversion is one NADH2 molecules after breaking down is going to give you 3 ATP molecules. Okay, one NADH2 giving 3 ATP. You know what is NAD, nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. Okay, and one FADH2 molecule is going to give you 2 ATPs. Alright, here one NADH2 giving you 3 ATPs at breaking down, and one FADH2. FADH2 is flavine adenine dinucleotide. It is again another electron acceptor. Okay, flavine adenine dinucleotide. So in case of photosynthesis, what you had is NADPH2. Okay, where phosphate molecule was added to the NAD. But here there is no phosphate molecule, that is there is just NADH2 and FADH2. And when these molecules are broken down, they are giving you a respective ATPs. Alright, one FADH2 giving you 3 ATPs, one NADH2 giving you 3 ATPs, and one FADH2 giving you 2 ATPs. Clear? So here at the end of glycolysis, 2 ATPs are utilized here somewhere. Okay, in the first, before isomerism, 2 ATPs are utilized, but after that NADH2 is formed. Okay, so I will tell you the net gain of glycolysis. In the entire glycolysis, 2 NADH2 molecules are formed. Okay, in the formation of pyruvic acid from phosphoglyceraldehyde at different steps, 2 NADH2 molecules are total formed, and obviously if you go with this conversion, this will give you 6 ATPs total, right? 2 into 3 is going to give you 6 ATPs total, plus 2 ATPs are there which are formed additional to this NADH2, means these are single 2 ATPs which are formed. So plus 2 ATPs. So total outcome of glycolysis is actually 8 ATPs. We won't be counting these 2 ATPs because this is ATP utilization. But here that is ATP formation. From ADP plus IP, what you are getting is ATP formation. Alright, and here NADH2 is formed. So 2-NADH2 is the end product of pyruvic acid till pyruvic acid, okay, which is going to give you net 6 ATPs. Similarly, two separate ATPs are also formed. So the total would be 8 ATPs, which is the final outcome of glycolysis. Alright, but why we are just mentioning this too? Because this ATPs would be at the end, means in the electron transfer system that I told you. All these products will go to the ETS, and in the cristae this ATPs would be finally synthesized. Okay, so these products would be a carry forward products which will at the end of the respiration release. But these ATPs are directly released. So 2 ATPs are separate and 6 ATPs which are the result of NADH2. Okay, understood glycolysis. Now we'll move to Krebs cycle. Krebs cycle is also called as TCA cycle, that is tricarboxylic acid cycle, because the first product which is formed is a stable product which is formed is a tricarboxylic acid, the 3 carbon compound. Alright, that's why it's called as TCA cycle or Krebs cycle. Krebs cycle because it was discovered by Hans Krebs. Alright. So this is the oxidation process for fats, carbohydrates as well as proteins. A common oxidation process where every other macromolecule is converted into a micromolecule. Okay. So what happens in Krebs is this cycle is taking place in the matrix region or the fluid part of mitochondria. So whatever pyruvic acid is formed during glycolysis is transferred to the matrix region, because glycolysis is taking place into cytoplasm. So from cytoplasm this pyruvic acid has to be transferred to the mitochondria, and that is transferred through acetyl coenzyme A. It plays the role of a catalyst, where it helps the transfer of pyruvate in the mitochondria in the Krebs cycle. Okay, so at acetyl coenzyme A, the release, okay, it starts with 6 carbon compound, means 2 molecules of pyruvic acid or pyruvate is transferred, and this 2 molecules is again going to fuse to form a 6 carbon compound. But this compound is very unstable. Okay, this compound is what? Very unstable. And it goes through a different series of compound formation like citrate, isocitrate, oxaloacetate, then succinic acid. Okay. Then it goes through alpha ketoglutarate, fumarate, malate. Here you have alpha ketoglutarate. Then you have succinate. Then you have fumarate. Then malate. And again the cycle will go, or the acetyl coenzyme A will help in the reconversion. And this is like a two-way process where acetyl coenzyme A helps in the transfer of pyruvic acid in the Krebs cycle in the mitochondria. Okay, and once the ATP molecules are formed, the final product, that is malate, again gets reconverted, or the end product is sent to the acetyl coenzyme A for reconversion. So it's kind of a two-way process, and acetyl coenzyme A is only a catalyst to help the transfer. So when this series of products, you don't need to remember all the names of the product. What you need to remember is only the end products and the starting product. Alright. Here, whenever there is a transfer or formation of another compound, means this 6 carbon compound giving you 3 carbon compound, then again 3 carbon compound, then 3 carbon compound, 4 carbon compound. Malic acid is again a 4-carbon compound. So different types, different carbon compounds are formed. Loss of oxygen. Now here, oxygen is given out during this process. Here, oxygen is taken in. Alright, so different places oxygen is given out, oxygen is taken in, then water is given out, dehydration occurs, then rehydration takes place. So at different points of time, different other molecules enter to help stabilize that compound. Alright, and when these molecules are entering, ATPs are forming, NADH2 molecules are forming at each and every step of the cycle. Okay. So during this transfer, two NADH2 molecules, two NAD giving rise to two NADH2 molecules are formed. Okay, this is two NADH2 molecules are used or are formed in the formation of in the transfer of pyruvic acid. Okay, then again your FADH2 is formed, NADH2 is formed. Here NADH2 is formed. Alright, during your FAD will get converted to FADH2. So it's a very complex process where different byproducts are formed. NADH2, FADH2, then during the transfer again NADH2, CO2 is either taken up or it is released at a particular step. Water is taken up, it is released. So hydration, dehydration, carboxylation, decarboxylation, reduction, synthesis, different products are forming and releasing during Krebs cycle. So these all products are together going to give rise to ATP molecules. So the net gain of Krebs cycle, this was of glycolysis. Okay, just remember. This was of glycolysis. But of Krebs cycle, it would be one Krebs cycle gives you total 12 ATPs. Okay, one Krebs cycle gives you total 12 ATPs. Now, how is this calculation done? 2 NADH2, alright, 1 FADH2 and 1 ATP. 1 ATP is formed here. Okay, 1 ATP is formed here and one more NADH2 is formed here. Okay. So total net gain of Krebs cycle is 2 NADH2, 1 FADH2, 2 ATP. Now as per our conversion, 1 NADH2 is 3 ATPs. So obviously this would be total for, this is 3 NADH2. 3 into 3, 9 ATPs. This is going to give you 2 and this one. So total is 12. Okay. So NADH2 total 3. Alright. So in the cycle, inside the matrix of mitochondria, total 3 NADH2 are formed. 1 FADH2 is formed. 1 ATP is formed. So 3 NADH2 according to our calculation will give you 9 ATPs after breaking down. 1 FADH2 is giving you 2 ATPs and 1 ATP you are getting it separately. So total 12 ATPs per Krebs cycle. Now the twist over here is every glucose molecule to completely oxidize one complete glucose molecule, 2 turns of Krebs cycles are required. Means in one turn half the glucose molecule will be released because one pyruvic acid is going now. In the second turn, other molecule of pyruvic acid is also going to get oxidized. So Krebs cycle will take 2 times, okay, 2 turns completely to oxidize this glucose molecule. Okay, so this glucose molecule completely gets oxidized after 2 turns of Krebs cycle. So obviously the net gain would become double. So per glucose molecule, Krebs cycle will take 2 turns. 2 turns means the net gain will become what? 24 ATPs. Remember this term. Okay, 2 turns of Krebs cycle per glucose molecule. So total net gain 12 into 2 will become 24 ATPs. Alright, so remember glycolysis giving you 8 ATPs. This is going to give you 24 ATPs plus this. Remember this. This is what? Acetyl coenzyme A transfer. Okay, carboxylation, decarboxylation. Taking in of carbon dioxide and release of carbon dioxide at the end of Krebs cycle. So this also takes up 2 NADH2. So this 2 NADH2 will obviously would be the separate NADH2. So this is 6 ATPs. So if you calculate this, you will get 38 ATPs. Alright, I'll tell you the calculation. First I'll repeat the cycle. Here, Krebs cycle is taking place in the matrix region of mitochondria. It is also called as tricarboxylic acid cycle, TCA cycle. Now what is happening here? Acetyl coenzyme A will be acting as a catalyst for transfer of pyruvate, that is pyruvic acid, from cytoplasm to the mitochondria or the matrix. Now here there is carboxylation, decarboxylation reaction giving rise to a 6 unstable compound, carbon compound, and as soon as it becomes unstable, it is been transferred or a new compound is formed. Different series of compounds are formed depending upon the release of oxygen, release of CO2, release of water. So dehydration, hydration takes place, decarboxylation, carboxylation takes place, and it goes through a series of products like citrate, isocitrate, alpha ketoglutarate, succinate, fumarate, malate. Okay, so these are 3 carbon compound molecules, 2 carbon compound molecules, and different molecules. Now what happens here during each transfer or during the formation of each compound, FADH2 molecules are formed, NADH2 molecules are formed, and ATP molecule is formed. Alright, so the total gain of Krebs cycle of 1 turn of Krebs cycle gives you 3 NADH2, 1 FADH2, and 1 separate ATP. So obviously 3 NADH2 according to the calculation gives you 9 ATPs total. 1 FADH2 gives you 2 ATPs and plus 1 ATP, that will give you a total net of 12 ATPs. Now since I told you per glucose molecule to completely oxidize that glucose molecule 2 turns of Krebs cycle is required. So obviously Krebs cycle is going to perform twice. Okay. So the net gain becomes 24 ATPs per glucose molecule. Alright. So 24 plus glycolysis ka 8 ATPs and this 6 ATPs, which is a result of 2 NADH2 molecules in the acetyl coenzyme A reaction. Alright. So this 6 ATPs, this 8 ATPs and this 24 ATPs together is going to give you 38 ATPs. Understood? Now I'll just tell you the repeat calculation again. Now you will wonder where electron transfer system comes into picture. Okay, where is the electron transfer system working? Now, as I told you, glycolysis is going to give you 8 ATPs. Okay, then acetyl coenzyme A transfer of pyruvic acid is going to give you 6 ATPs. This 6 ATPs are because of 2 NADH2. Okay, because of 2 NADH2 we are getting the 6 ATPs, and then Krebs cycle. One Krebs cycle is 12 ATPs, so 2 Krebs cycles are required for complete oxidation of glucose molecule. So total 24 ATPs. So this is 38 ATPs. So here our actual reaction ends. Alright, this is where you have the complete reaction of cellular respiration, aerobic one. Alright, but ETS, that is the electron transfer chain or electron transfer system. Okay, actual usable ATPs, okay, are 2 ATPs as I told you, which we directly get separate ATPs. The 6 ATPs you are getting from what? NADH2. Alright. Similarly, here also 1 ATP per Krebs cycle you are getting, so 2 ATPs. Alright, so this is 1 ATP we are getting per Krebs cycle and 2 ATPs in glycolysis. If we separate the NADH2 and FADH2 molecule. Now here is the place where electron transfer system, which is taking place in the cristae region of mitochondria. That is, I told you, oxysomes or F1 particle. This is the cristae region of mitochondria. Now what is happening here is all these NADH2 molecules, FADH2 molecules, then different other electron acceptors, that is FMN, mononucleotide, flavin mononucleotide. So different types. NADH2 is nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, FADH flavin adenine dinucleotide, FMN is flavin mononucleotide. So these will be the electron acceptors. They will be forming the electron acceptors. Now when the transfer of energy will take place or electron will take place, these molecules form a chain. NAD, NADH2, FAD, FADH2, okay, Mn. Alright, so this is this chain-like formation which happens at different cristae regions. So during the transfer of every chain, okay, every electron acceptor, ADP plus IP, ADP plus IP, EDP plus IP, these all ADPs and IPs are going to fuse together to give ATPs at every junction. At every junction what you are getting is ATPs. Okay, that is how maximum amount of ATPs, which is a result of all these reactions, are formed at the electron transfer chain. So this chain is like continuous to all the cristae, all the oxysomes which are there on the surface of the mitochondria. Okay, so the more amount of cristae you will have, more amount of ATPs would be released. So NADH2, FADH2 are eventually going to release ATPs at these junctions. Alright, and this is how carbon dioxide would be released at the end of aerobic respiration. Alright, so maximum ATPs are formed at electron transfer system, electron transfer chain, and these are the calculable ATPs. This is also a right way of measuring or calculating total 38, but if you remove this, this is total 4 ATPs plus the rest 34 ATPs are formed here. Okay, so 34 plus 4, you are getting 38 by this method also, you are getting 38 by this method. So you need to remember the calculation for both the methods. How electron transfer system comes into the picture. Alright, this is a very crucial calculation. 8 ATPs from glycolysis, but out of that 6 ATPs are from NADH2. Okay, so real ATPs or actual ATPs are actually 2 ATPs only. And acetyl coenzyme A, transfer of pyruvic acid into the matrix of mitochondria, 6 ATPs. 2 turns of Krebs cycle giving you 24 ATPs. So total would be 38 ATPs. Alright. This is actual calculation through all the cycles, and direct calculation is 2 plus 2 and 34 from the electron transfer chain, which is with the help of all this electron acceptors, and at every junction you are getting ATPs. Alright, so this is the final end of aerobic respiration, because this was only the cellular part, means at cellular level, the basic level what is happening, but more complex metabolic activities are performed which are aligned to the cellular respiration is breathing, where exchange of gas is taking place through inhalation and exhalation, also with the help of respiratory system. So all these metabolic activities are in correlation with each other. They are not independent. Okay, they are dependent on each other. So if the cellular respiration, if there is any error, that can lead to the dysfunctioning or any kind of disruption in the breathing process also. Alright, so every type of respiration is important for normal functioning of the body. Yeah.